We just spent the last 30 days studying the secret truth behind YouTube's money-making economy. In this video, you're gonna learn about the content industry, platform economics, and the YouTube algorithm, and the countless brave heroes and artists that push the boundaries of what YouTube can be. And through YouTube, we creators shape culture, influence people, and change the world. And the power is in our hands, and not YouTube's. YouTube was pitched as the video hosting platform that would be a means of communication and a connection between others. A social network where the dialogue would be video to video. You might remember the video response system, where users were encouraged to make response videos, which YouTube would directly advertise to viewers of the original. However, what became clear was that endless video content is not where the platform's strengths would lie. In 2013, over 100 hours of content was being uploaded every minute. Nobody clicked on video responses. The platform didn't need more content. It needed viral videos, figureheads, and cultural movements. No longer was the message of YouTube broadcast yourself. So YouTube's goal had to become how to organize, how to sell the image of YouTube as a center of influence that advertisers and businesses could invest in, and make sure content creators need to be on YouTube and only YouTube to keep creating more content. And most importantly, make sure that consumers are tuned into the world's greatest digital cultural hub, the dream that anyone, including you, could be the next biggest YouTuber. YouTube and creators share the same goal of insisting that our videos, our content has meaning. So I mean, it can be like entertaining, educational, artistic. It could be about maintaining a social community or giving a voice and representation to groups of people. We create these videos for YouTube. YouTube gives us a platform to be seen. Every one of us caters our videos around platform policy, content strategy optimization, audience retention strategies. I mean, I create every video around the most clickable title and thumbnail. So as much as we want to say our content is meaningful, it's content at the end of the day. You know, content creator used to refer to software devs who would make programs for tech hardware to make it stand out against competition. It wasn't used to refer to videos at all in the past. Then the internet explosion, Web 2.0, the first age of user-generated content. It was all about getting your users to create graphics and text and anything that could grab attention onto your website just so that they could stick around a little longer. And nowadays, we've kind of tossed away the term influencer to call ourselves content creators, and in doing so, we embrace that Web 2.0 ideology. Users make content for the platform. And you know, when it comes down to it, our videos exist to circulate on YouTube, not to, broadcast ourselves like YouTube used to say. So, you ask me if my videos need to have any meaning. Well, I'm a content creator, and I think that speaks for itself.
Hello, and welcome to the actual video essay. I hope you enjoyed the mildly cringe but undeniably well-shot introduction full of in-jokes that nobody except my most dedicated longtime subscribers will get. Definitely means I lose views, which is a problem because YouTube is my full-time job. But on the other hand, I really enjoy making those intros and I need to justify my expensive film studies degree somehow. I'm generic film YouTuber, and this
is content. Okay, so there's this thing called the algorithm, and if we know how the algorithm works, then we'll be able to get views, and if we're able to get views, then the YouTube channel won't die, which is good.
Can I tell you something I'm bad at? I am terrible at making clickbait. And if I humiliate myself now for this sponsor, it means I can't humiliate myself in a week for charity. Being a YouTuber is so hard.
is content, or at least it sure smells like it. But is it fair to call what I do content? Well, at the risk of substantially duplicating another, better video essay, there's one argument that says that the current practice of labeling all internet-distributed, user-generated speech as content erases a meaningful distinction. For people who take this view, there's a difference between the aesthetics of content and what we might call internet-distributed art. Content is notoriously difficult to nail down. The more we try to research a precise definition, the more scholarly confusion we encounter. Even trying to describe the aesthetic of content is tricky, because it's kind of like that famous US Supreme Court quote about porn, "I know it when I see it." The colloquial definition seems to be a certain kind of user-generated internet entertainment, which is made specifically to be distributed and consumed via an algorithmic social media platform. But this is pretty slippery, no? After all, you might discover a new film by a Netflix recommendation, or watch a professionally produced show on YouTube, like mine. Now, I, generic film YouTuber, could argue that those things shouldn't be called content because they're genuine artistic expressions. Though these works of audio-visual art might indeed be consumed as if they were just another piece of content, they're intended as meaningful cultural productions with a value entirely separate from their utility as monetizable internet objects. Content, on the other hand, is different. In her 2022 book, Content, from MIT Press, scholar Kate Eichhorn says that content is often produced simply to circulate. The content industry generates revenue from the production and/or circulation of content alone. The content in question sometimes conveys a message, tells a story, or entertains, but it doesn't need to do any of those things in order to circulate effectively. In a 2020 study of Chilean influencers, one fashion blogger turned Instagram creator described her social media work as liquid, instantaneous, and disposable. Crucially, content is platform dependent, needs to play by the algorithmic rules in order to succeed. However artistic the piece of content might be, it's only relevant as long as it's monetizable. In other words, you gotta be able to sell ads on it. And in order to sell ads, you gotta get views. In order to get views, you gotta please the algorithm, baby. But wait, I don't make content. I make art. I do creative work. I'm not just a content creator, I'm a cultural communicator. And yet I do kind of have to care about views, as much as I hate to admit it. It's just that the systemic devaluation of cultural work forces me to use some of the same content-y, platform-dependent strategies. But YouTube is different, right? We have the partner program, there's revenue sharing, got a nice little community down there in my comment section, right guys? Don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way. Anyway, some YouTube stuff definitely goes for the content aesthetic, but I'm not doing questionably ethical charity stunts or live streaming a video game for 30 hours straight, unless it's for charity, or turning out AI slop to sell ads.
No, stop. We agreed. We don't have time to get into that. We barely have enough time to make a coherent argument about humans who make arguably soulless but definitely profit-driven art without getting into philosophical implications about robot souls.
You're right. I agreed. We weren't going to get into it for the sake of time. And anyway, the person writing this part of the script is a total Luddite in both the conventional and historically accurate sense of the term. So anyway, no AI stuff. We're just going to stick to humans in this video, even though, old man yells at cloud, that's kind of my whole shtick. However, the fact that AI keeps coming up in this discussion points to something vital about the way that content creation functions as a job. AI is increasingly relied upon.
Generic?
No, I'm doing it again. I'm changing the subject. Okay, let's do it. The phrase attention economy, the constant affective and emotional labor demanded by surveillance capitalism means that AI is, look, I was gonna go into a big academic thing about the alienation of labor and the performance of authenticity and stuff. Imagine Sisyphus performing happiness and all that. But, I'm tired, man. I might not want to submit to the business ontology of the parasitic content industry. I don't actually want to submit to the parasitic content industry, but I'm not famous enough to release one video a year and call it good. In order to pay my rent, I gotta post the videos that get the views, that keep my sponsors happy, whether I feel like I have something interesting to say or not. And that necessarily limits both the subjects and scope of my videos. I mean, I'm not afraid to do a controversial take. Controversy is fine. It's great, actually. People will watch that and argue about it in the comments, and that's engagement. But there are still limits on what I can talk about, and especially hard limits on my time. I can only use the ideas that allow me to produce work on a schedule that the algorithm demands. In the words of philosopher Bo Burnham,
allowing giant digital media corporations to exploit the neurochemical drama of our children for profit? Maybe that was a bad call by us. Maybe the flattening of the entire subjective human experience into a lifeless exchange of value that benefits nobody except for, a handful of bug-eyed salamanders in Silicon Valley. Maybe that as a way of life forever. Maybe that's not good.
I guess I'll do an Instagram poll about it to tease this video and get more engagement. So yeah, content creators, like myself, often turn to alternative avenues for monetization in order to relieve some of our platform dependence on YouTube. There's a reason that every YouTuber eventually starts a podcast, and this need for reliable income separate from the volatile ad and sponsor market is the reason that Patreon exists at all. But whether it's subscriptions, merch, or podcasts, if you're gonna sell it, you need to have a following that's willing to buy it. And in order to get a following, you need engagement. So again, monetization follows engagement, which follows the algorithmic demands. But hey, commercial art is still art. Last time I checked, Hollywood wasn't making films for free either. Well, I just checked the results of the poll, and the masses, by which I mean film bros between the ages of 18 and 35 who follow me on Instagram and live in a compatible time zone, have spoken. 55% of my followers also think that allowing giant digital media corporations to exploit the neurochemical drama of our children's brains is bad. Really? Trolls. Anyway, bug-eyed Silicon Valley salamanders squeezing the joy and creativity out of art in order to turn a profit is officially a bad thing that people don't like, which does give me a little bit of hope. And hey, that salamander thing might be kind of a good merch idea. If it sells well, maybe I can take a year off, lock myself in my studio apartment, and finally make my subversive video essay about anti-capitalist comedy. But is that too derivative? Can I legally put that quote on my merch, or would I need to have the rights to it? Or is it fair use under parody laws? Hey, Instagram, merch, bug eyes, legal, question mark? I guess follow me on Patreon to find out. And now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go record an ad for a sketchy VPN with a long trial period and a really expensive yearly subscription, which you'll definitely forget to cancel before it auto-renews.
Okay, cut. I think we got it.
Do you think it's too opaque, too recursive maybe? I don't want to make it seem like we're criticizing the channels that we're parodying in this video essay. I guess a lot of it will come down to the performance, but it's really important that the viewers understand that the self-deprecating humor is diegetic and a direct homage to the style of these video creators. It would be super hypocritical anyway, a whole bunch of media studies students taking lazy pot shots at film studies bros. But really, they're cultural critics whose work we respect. And I'm worried it's a little bit too much of a straight ripoff maybe. I don't want H-Bomber guy to come for me.
Do you want to do another take?
Maybe. But no, I can't. I have philosophy of media in 30 minutes, and I still need to memorize this deep cut of Marshall McLuhan's Mechanical Bride so that I can press the hot TA.
Well, good luck with that. But hey, it's Friday, so I'll let you know how the edit looks. If we need to do reshoots, it'll have to be soon. So probably this weekend. Are you free Sunday?
Yeah, I do have plans.
In this world, there are those who believe in the philosophy that art is a business, and that the art that people can produce will first need to meet its requirements as a business. That most important requirement for a business is to make a profit, which is where we get the content creators and the motive of profit that fuels their channels. We're going to look at a couple of examples of creators and how the motive of profit affects their content, and an example that sort of defies the profit motive, but also sort of doesn't. The first example is a creator who, from a business stance, has been doing very well with this whole content for profit thing. Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast, also known as Jimmy Donaldson, according to Forbes, earned about $85 million in 2024. An amount of money I don't think I know what to do with across my entire lifetime. Donaldson's immense popularity and the ad revenue that comes with that certainly contributes to that money, but as Forbes mentions, he also sells merchandise like clothing and candy bars. Spaceballs taught me anything.
Where the real money from the movie is made. Spaceballs the t-shirt, Spaceballs the coloring book,
Spaceballs the lunchbox. Spaceballs the breakfast cereal. Spaceballs the flamethrower. The kids love this one.
In his essay, Always Late Capitalism, Quantity Not Quality in the Age of Quantification, scholar Richard Snowden-Leak identifies MrBeast's channel as a notable leader of content for profit. He specifically cites MrBeast's video where he cured 1,000 people of blindness. A nice deed, with a catchy title and thumbnail optimized for click-through rate dozens of times over. This form of charity as content can only exist thanks to privatization of essential systems, in this case healthcare. And while giving people free healthcare is definitely a good thing, I will point out that Donaldson's profiting off the misfortunes of others in a way that is not too dissimilar to how capitalism usually operates. The charity is happening because it fuels the profit motive, not simply out of Donaldson's heart. While the recipients of this charity aren't paying with money, their image is now owned by Donaldson, monetized and circulated endlessly, bolstering Donaldson's reputation and lining his pockets definitely. The internet, as they say, is forever. But what if there's a channel that rejected that? Unus Honest was a YouTube channel that from its very first video stated to be about the inevitability of death and the passage of time, with the promise that it would upload a video every day for 1 year and then delete the channel, and that the audience should experience it now so they can make memories of it to hold on to. Now, how does that relate to making money, you ask? Well, first off, like other YouTubers such as the aforementioned MrBeast, they sold merchandise, and the declaration that they made at the start could be seen as a form of drumming up FOMO. But this is where the motivation of profit clashes with what they did. Sticking to the plan to axe the channel and all of its content after only 1 year cuts short the potential for the business to grow and accumulate more profits. Which, if I had the misfortune of speaking with a business major, they would probably tell me that's a terrible way to run things. But that's the thing. This is the opposite end of the MrBeast method, where instead of just endless videos that exist just to make more profit, by destroying what they've built, they outright reject the profit incentive!
Are you doing the accent?
No, I think that might be a bit too much. Yeah, I definitely can't do the accent. You think people still get it?
Yeah, I think they'll get it.
Okay, cool.
Well, that's a nice story, isn't it? Isn't it? It is, right? A nice story. Yeah, it's a nice story. Well, what if I told you it was all plagiarized? No, I'm just kidding you. It's fair use parody stuff, all in good fun. The script of this video essay is pretty comprehensively cited, actually. I'm sure I'll put links down in the description or wherever you want to call it. So you can check it out for yourself. Nope, just a nice story. Unus Honest successfully rejected the profit motive and escaped the trap of contentification and media exploitation forever. And everyone learned their lesson, and now everyone knows how to make art that's not compromised whatsoever and still make a decent living on social media. Right? Well, they certainly appear to be. But rejecting the profit motive is one thing, but appearing to reject the profit motive is another. And appearing to reject the profit motive can actually be very valuable. So far, we've talked about the aesthetics of content creation and the aesthetics of artistic resistance as if they were inseparable and distinct categories. You can kind of always tell when someone is an artist with integrity, trademark, and when someone is heroically and bravely resisting the profit motive to bring you their raw artistic vision. Just like Unus Honest. Well, okay, but wait. Unus Honest, of course, successfully sold t-shirts, U2s, sweaters, and a variety of merchandise, all under the aesthetic of temporal scarcity. That's without mentioning the ad revenue from consecutive videos reaching over 1 million views and their 1.5 million live viewers at the end of their final live stream. Unus Honest privated but archived their social media accounts, and despite the core ideology of the project, fans have easily archived every video and live stream they made. By rejecting YouTube's model of eternal content, they very much played into YouTube's attention economy and won in profit. You know, people still have to pay rent or whatever. A few merch drops here, a few sponsorships there, no biggie. And hey, maybe it even benefits you as the viewer, right? If you know from the aesthetics and stated values of their content that this creator really cares about the same things you do and won't just sell you anything or take any sponsorship that comes along, then maybe the ones they do feature have a little bit more weight. You get what I mean? You already know what I'm gonna have to say, aren't you? Do I really have to say?
Corporations are not your friends.
Oh yeah, here it comes, baby. The generic 10-minute rant about how capitalism is bad that I do at the end of every video now.
Couldn't have said it better myself. See, the thing is, this performance of authenticity is exactly the resource that our attention economy is based on. Lots of content creators construct an audience based on presenting themselves as authentic and effective fellow consumers. Corporations can't wait to leverage that parasocial trusting relationship that you have with your favorite anti-capitalist artist in order to sell you stuff. There's a word for this. It's sometimes called a rebel sell, and it's a pretty well-known concept. The book that introduced the phrase, The Rebel Sell by Joseph Heath and Andrew Potter, has gotten plenty of specific critique that I'm not really qualified to get into here, but as a phrase, yeah, I think rebel sell pretty well describes what's going on when corporations like YouTube exploit the labor of anti-capitalist artists and extract both profit and credibility from their work. But is this content creation necessarily cynical? Is it all just, at the end of the day, crass consumption rebranded for the conscious class? Say that 10 times fast. Take, for example, the Green Brothers. An obvious pick, sure. They're some of the most famous and enduring YouTube stars riding the wave of algorithmic changes throughout their 18 years of uploading to their Vlogbrothers channel. Their current production conforms pretty well to the dominant aesthetics of professionalized content. They publish frequently on a regular schedule, supplement their primary engagement stream with podcasts, side channels, Patreon, and merch drops of various kinds. And they do it mostly for charity. A particularly keen comparison with Unus Honest's output is Hank Green's recent video, "This video will disappear in 14 hours. So, is this rebel sell capitalism in disguise? Both Green Brothers talk pretty frequently about how the profit motive inherent to capitalism leads to inhumane choices. And while they do sell stuff like fancy soap, they also make a point of donating all that profit to charity and producing it in an ethical way. So, is it subversive to channel the profit-seeking logic of the content industry and the attention economy towards a positive cause? Or does the filthy, dirty capitalism of it just negate the whole thing? Obviously, that's not true, and clearly they're not doing the same kind of performative instrumentalizing charity that you see in Mr. Beast videos. I don't know. If we have to have social media algorithms trying to hijack our attention, and I'm not convinced that we need them, but we sure do have them, then selling fancy soap so that you can take on corporations seeking to profit from the unnecessary pain of human beings is one of the least bad uses for it, I guess. Do you need fancy soap? I don't know. I'm not gonna be all no ethical consumption under capitalism at you. But it's definitely better than like selling disposable merch made with.
Weird? I'm not sure what this is. What could it possibly be? Oh, it's child labor.
So maybe asking if it's authentic subversion or real resistance isn't even the right question. If authenticity is always going to be used to try to sell us stuff, does it mean that it's pointless to be authentic anyway? That's pretty bleak. And if it is pointless, then what are we supposed to do instead? Aim for inauthenticity? Give up and become nihilists? Write and perform an accessible, entertaining 30-minute video about nihilism and the politics of Nietzsche? Oh, what? Oh, yeah, okay. Hang on. Oh, okay. Apparently Philosophy Tube's already done that?
So today, we are going to answer the most important question of all. Is that woke?
Yeah, no, she's got that one more than covered pretty well. Never mind that last part. Good video, though. You should definitely go and watch that. Anyway, I do think we can all agree that so long as we're living under a capitalist system, we'd like artists and cultural critics to be able to make a living from their work. So even if the comedian is invited to the stage and compensated handsomely for his efforts in maintaining the status quo through his sanctioned triviality for his knowingly tongue-in-cheek authenticity, that doesn't negate the value of their artwork, does it? So I guess it's less, does this person's effort to make a living undermine the meaning of their cultural work, and more, how do we change the conditions of the system so people can keep their integrity and still get paid for their art? I don't know. How hard could it be, really? Like, for starters, have you considered seizing the means of production?
So can truly creative, authentic, real artistic expression exist on YouTube? I certainly think so. Is it easy? Well, no. The ways in which YouTube as a platform shapes the kind of content that is successful via its algorithms and aesthetic creates the coercive forces that we've discussed in this video. Forces that pull the people making videos for this platform away from their creative visions and towards a more sanitized, standardized, consumable package of content.
While this tension between authenticity and commerce is an internal conflict for artists, the immediacy of YouTube's platform of being able to be notified immediately when someone publishes their work and the personal tailoring via algorithm, feeding off the data that we leave behind makes this platform's capitalist logic that much more insidious. Therefore, the ways in which people working on YouTube must deal with this logic is unique compared to the ways other artists have done in the past. We are forging new paths through this new digital frontier of creation, and to forge those paths requires no small excess of very hard work.
Though much of what we have discussed today is more of a look out onto the landscape of YouTube, describing what trends we see across many of the top creators, we would now like to share our most resolutely held prescriptive thoughts. So long as we are seeking to make not just mere content, as long as we are trying to do something, anything, more than simply fill what strange invisible quota we feel the algorithm has set for us, we should not call what we make content. In doing so, we would cede ground to the idea that what we make is content first and expressive second. Rather, I think that we should call it a work, or works in plural, in the same way we describe the works of Picasso, or how The Brutalist is a work by Brady Corbet, Adrian Brody, Felicity Jones, and many more.
Because that's what it is. It's the result of hard work, sometimes from one person, sometimes from many people who have tried to make something. Maybe it's not perfect. A little bit of quantification here, a few compromises there, a Patreon plug, a link to some ethically made merchandise. But it is work made with the authentic intent to communicate humanly. And why would we reduce our own voices into something to be consumed? Thanks for watching.